2022 will mark my 9th year being a fan of watching wrestling. Again, I always say my years of being a wrestling fan began officially at SummerSlam 2013, as that was a show that grasped my attention into the wrestling industry. Throughout those 9 years, of course, my main experience was the WWE. Of course, I always thought that, the WWE will always have something that keeps me intrigued. Something that even if the show is at its worst of worst, that there'll be like that one or two things that keep me invested. I would say in the past 3 years, I feel like that philosophy has slowly fallen down a little bit. And especially for the past 2 years, because WWE released half, probably even more than half, of their roster. Not just that, but this whole idea, how Vince McMahon is out of touch, how he seems to always want to make everything about him, want to have full control over everything. The pandemic era, where there was no fans, no audience for 16 months, however long it was, and Vince McMahon got to basically, be in more control. These things like, inserting, crowd reactions, piped in noises, editing things to make it look the way he wants it to look, not anybody else, created even more of a sour taste in my mouth for the product. Because it felt like the WWE completely turned into Vince McMahon's personal playground. It's like him playing his own video game on a franchise mode, with his own custom players, how he wants them to be, and not caring about what anyone else thinks. As long as he's got the money, and the show just insists consistently anymore just feels insulting. So, obviously, that's where I stand with WWE these days. There's barely anybody left, and everything just feels like it's nothing but what Vince McMahon wants. And it doesn't feel like the wrestlers have any of their say, and it feels like that, the audience has no room to, basically have their spirit in the show as well. Because it's all what Vince wants. And of course, in 2019 was the birth of All Elite Wrestling, which is, TV-14, first off. It's one thing we stressed for a while with WWE. The fact that we were tired of it being PG. It's not just that it's PG, it's the fact that Vince McMahon has it. 1 week it's super extreme and up to the 14s. Next week it feels like you're trying to please a 5-year-old kid. AEW has always been a TV-14 audience. And not just that, we have Vince McMahon, who doesn't like wrestling. He likes sports entertainment. He likes to make movies. Well, guess what, Vince? Your movies suck. In my opinion. Let's first off stop for a second right here. What is the whole point of this video? What made me want to post this video? A couple weeks ago, it was actually a comment. I watched Just Alex's What Corporate Wants versus What Fans Want video about WWE versus AEW. And I mentioned how AEW feels like the place to be right now. It feels like the show to watch to me. Personally, AEW is the show that makes me still enjoy wrestling. It's that avenue where I find, that those things that I still enjoy, despite the fact that a lot of other products aren't that good right now. Well, other ones are. I just haven't, watched. I don't watch Impact all the time. I don't watch any MLW or New Japan or AAA or whatnot. I don't have time to watch all of those. Once in a blue moon, I may check something out involved in it, but I don't have time to, keep up with how many different wrestling shows anymore. But I made some comment again how I thought that AEW was the place to be. And someone commented on my comment and laughed at me for thinking that. And it made me think. The internet has so much hate anymore these days, and it feels like a war at times. If you love AEW, how dare you? You gotta love WWE. If you love WWE, though, how dare you hate AEW? Basically, it's like, if you don't, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You don't like either one, or if you say something good about a company you say you don't like, you're a hypocrite. It's like, it just drives me nuts. And it's another reason why it's hard to make content at times for, certain things. Especially stuff that I don't enjoy, because then you have those fans who basically, just have to put the negative spin on it. Okay, yes, me, ranting about a show that's bad is not really putting on a positive spin, but at least is a show just to discuss what happened and why this didn't work. That's why I still review, WWE pay-per-views and whatnot. But the people who are out there just to attack people for talking about what they like, but also talking about what they don't like about wrestling, it's like, why do you even say anything? What justice are you getting by downing someone else's own opinion? If you love WWE but hate AEW, that's fine. If you love AEW but hate WWE, that's fine too. If you like both shows, or if you like Impact, if you like New Japan, if you like MLW, even if you're the biggest Jinder Mahal fan, or Veer Mahan, or Baron Corbin fan, or anyone, or even if you think QT Marshall is the greatest wrestler of all time, for crying out loud, congratulations! That's good. You find enjoyment out of that. It's not wrong for me to think that AEW is a place to be right now. If you don't think that's the case, that's fine. But no need to laugh at the people who think that's the case. So, let me explain. Why do I feel like AEW is a place to be? Why is AEW the company that's, to me, keeping my wrestling fandom alive right now? The roster is stacked. Yes, WWE was stacked. But you got Tony Khan, who is a wrestling fan. And yes, Tony Khan obviously has to have his input on things. He has his ideas of things. But it's not just that he's basically walks someone and says, here's what we're doing, and this is why. It's more so, no, here's an idea of what I see you as. What do you think? He wants to have the wrestlers' input in there as well. He also knows what the fans want. Okay, you're not going to sit here all the time and say, okay, what do you guys want? The WWE, Vince McMahon come out and say, we're not the authority anymore, you are. You tell us what you want, we're going to give it to you. No, of course, obviously, you got to throw in some surprise. You got to throw, it's like me as a videographer. What I like to put in any, demo reels or something I made over the years is, I usually like to say, I like to take your creativity and mix it with mine. That's what Tony Khan does. He takes the wrestler's creativity and mixes it with his. They're not there basically to, read off a script and, they're not there to be actors. They're there to put themselves in the shoes of telling the stories. They are the plugs being put into the outlets and producing stuff. And some stuff works, yes, some stuff does not. It happens. But what shows is that, AEW does not keep beating to death the stuff that doesn't work. Even if it's Cody Rhodes, getting booed, they still try to roll with it. Okay, they did try to do Brandy Rhodes and Dan Lambert in a promo at the same time. That did not work. That did not work at all. But, I could look at AEW and say, okay, they tried something and it didn't work. They had some screw-ups, such as, of course, the botched explosion for the barbed wire death match at Revolution last year. But you know what? They tried to make something out of it. They don't just sit there and insult the fans, though, also. They own up and they try to make something out of it. And with the roster stacked, it's not like, they do all this stuff with, all these people, but then it's like, all these other stars they don't make feel relevant. Okay, there's a few that, I felt it's like, okay, it's like, they're in such a good spot, yet, like, they should have, gone up higher. Like Lance Archer. Lance Archer, I still think, should have been a champion at some point. I still think he should have been the first TNT champion. But they still, even though I would have liked a little bit that title run, I think they've done the best they could with trying to still make him feel, as relevant and as meaningful if somebody like a Hangman Adam Page would beat him in a match and so forth. They're not. It's not like in WWE with Baron Corbin or like Kevin Owens or like that heel that one wrestler is like you could throw him into a title feud as like a pushover feud, and you could most of the time the match happens, it's a good match, but you knew that the person was that the one person had no chance. Like anytime Dolph Ziggler gets a world title match, he's not gonna win. But AEW at least does a good job with making you believe that person could have won. Even though the chances weren't likely, they still gave you that like thought of like, oh, maybe they could have won that. That's what the whole point of it is. And not just getting the roster stacked, but the fact that there's so many people I could see being up top right now. It's not easy for me to predict who's going to be the one to dethrone Hangman Adam Page. There's a lot of options. It could be Adam Cole. It could very well be Cody Rhodes and this stuff with him leaving as a work. It could be Malachi Black, for crying out loud. I thought it was just going to be really just a tag team division, but they added Buddy Matthews last night on Dynamite. It could be Miro. It's not going to be Bryan Danielson. He already had his shot. It could be Jon Moxley. Well, I wouldn't say put up Moxley. Could be Keith Lee for all we know. I don't know. There's a lot of options. Just like there's a lot of people that I would love to see be TNT champion right now. Or women's champion. Thunder Rosa. I think, it's definitely going to be the one to dethrone Britt Baker. I think at some point we could see Serena Deeb be women's champion. Ruby Soho, I would love to see be women's champion. Some people like Layla Hirsch has a little ways to go, but definitely like to see her be up there. There's room for there's still a lot more room in that women's division. They could be bringing in Athena or Ember Moon. Mia Yim could be coming along also. Toni Storm. Maybe Deonna Purrazzo. I would love to see Deonna Purrazzo. I know she's killing it in Impact, but I would just love to see her get a brief run in AEW if she could be before she retires. I know she only wants to do this for so much more longer and, be a mother. She just got engaged to Steve Maclin, so I hope maybe too. But like I said, there's a lot of people in WWE. How many people could you believably see beat Roman Reigns right now and be world champion? How many people in the women's division do you think could believably be a women's champion? Nobody. Like, everybody feels like a placeholder. And then when they do need them to look like, they could beat them, it's too late. AEW, despite the fact that they're stacked, and of course there's not as many titles, always have something to do for these wrestlers to keep them looking strong. Some people, have, kind of like, fallen, have run a room like Brian Cage, who apparently is staying with AEW. I was surprised by that. I thought he may leave and go to WWE because there wasn't really much room for him, which I could have understood that one. Again, like I said, Lance Archer, even though he still feels relegated, I could see him maybe, stepping away, doing something else, taking a break, or doing New Japan again, or I don't know. But there's so many people, I feel like, that, could believably be in a top spot. Orange Cassidy as another person. They made a star out of Orange Cassidy. WWE would have made him a complete joke. If he was in WWE, he'd be pretty much on the same level as Nikki ASH. That's where he'd be. Because they would make him feel like a joke with the gimmick, with his gimmick. Just like they made Nikki Ash a joke with her gimmick. So, with how many interesting things, and people still coming in. We had Keith Lee just come in recently. We have Buddy Matthews now. Now there's rumors that Jeff Hardy's going to be joining soon, so is Athena. Isaiah Swerve Scott's supposed to be on his way. And now that Cesaro has left WWE. That's people who are underutilized, have much other things to bring to the table, and you know Tony Khan's not going to bring them in to do nothing. Some may take a little more time to build up than others, but he eventually makes them feel like a relevant part of the team. And not just that, but these characters that they're playing are not just themselves, are people who are driven, who have characters that are driven to be the best. That's another problem I have with WWE. Nobody's characters are except for a very minuscule amount, are driven based off to be wanting to be the best, and that is a problem. Why should we care about these guys if they don't care about being the best? You know, and again, AEW is not perfect. They had their kinks to knock out at the beginning, but they try to make the best of their mistakes, and they admit they make mistakes. They don't insult the fans either, and they don't try to, they don't brag about themselves. I feel like when I watch AEW, it's not always about, AEW does this, AEW does that. I feel like in a whole, AEW honors the entire sport of wrestling. And not just posts at every commercial on Raw. Oh, WWE now hit this million viewers, who's more than Fox, more than ESPN, more than MLB, all this stuff. They're full of their egos. And yes, I know some people think that AEW is full of their egos, but personally, in my opinion, if you think, okay, as I said again, if you think that way about AEW, fine. But if you're going to come on here and bash my opinions about it, then I'm just like, screw you, I don't want to talk to you. But I personally feel AEW celebrates wrestling entirely as a whole and honors history of wrestling. So, I laid out a lot of things, but again, I do not appreciate when people, of course, just attack others for their opinions. If you don't like AEW and love WWE, that's fine. If you don't like WWE and love AEW, that's fine. Whatever you like is okay. But making others feel bad for thinking that somewhere like AEW or MLW or Impact is a place to be, it's not right to make people feel like feel bad for having their own reasons to still like the sport of wrestling or the art of wrestling. But I encourage you make a video, humbly stating your opinion. Why do you think a certain wrestling company is the place to be? I encourage you to do it as well. I would like to share this video with just Alex as well, to share my thoughts again about why I think AEW is the place to be right now. But again, if you think another place is the place to be, feel free to share those thoughts. Just be respectful that other people may not think so. If you want to make a video think why I think WWE is the place to be, go for it. If you want to make a video as to why Impact Wrestling is the place to be, go for it. MLW, New Japan, EC3 and Adam Shearer, formerly known as Braun Strowman, they're going to be making, starting a new wrestling company called Control Your Narrative. Why do you think ROH was? Again, express yourself. Why do you think your favorite wrestling company is the place to be? I encourage you to share those thoughts. You can leave thoughts down in the comment section below. You can even leave links to your own videos down below. As always, be sure to slap a like on the video, subscribe more content to my channel, and follow me on Twitter at DemandAirboy93. Till then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you later. Have a great rest of your night. Peace out, everybody.